Hello, everyone. My name is Hank Settle. I'm the Sonic Shaman and founder of Emergence of Being. And this is a conscious connection with joy. And she has a whole amazing list of all these incredible stories. But today, specifically, talking about the anniversary of when she was bitten by a black widow. Before we get to that, Joy, just give a little introduction to yourself and how people can find you.
I can be found on experiencejoy.com. I'm best known for teaching how to live more joyfully and less stressfully in 3 minutes or less. I became a world expert on the subject after being hit by a drunk driver when I was 24. And doctors gave up on me. They said I'd be dead or brain dead because every time I went into stress, the soft tissue would swell at the base of my neck, blood would stop going to my brain, and I would have 3 minutes before I blacked out. So my tools, fabulous, very effective, because it was that or die. And I'm also extremely well known for reprogramming the brain so that your memories can't hurt you, and reprogramming the brain for optimal levels of productivity and joy. And in fact, this is a big part of the Black Widow story. Today, I'm going to be talking about how to stay out of fear in really scary situations, and a tool that just shifts everything,
Absolutely.
lines it up with where you want to go as opposed to where you really don't.
Yeah, and after the broadcast today, I've had Joy on two other times talking about stories. So I'll be sure to post those in the comments. So if you like today, you can go back and get two more doses of joy from the past interviews. They're always wonderful
Experience
stories.
joy.
And since you mentioned fear, just to reframe that for a lot of people, one thing that I've learned is that as children, especially firstborn, we get imprinted with fear when we're excited because new parents, they freak out every time a kid goes and does anything because they don't want the child to get hurt. And so we start to misidentify excitement with fear. And so
I
I started
absolutely
asking my
love
son,
that.
yeah. So I started asking my son, like at Disney World, he didn't want to go on the Slinky Dog, which is a roller coaster. And then I thought, you know what? Let me ask him this: Are you afraid or are you excited? And he paused, and it really took him aback. And he thought about it. He's like, I'm excited. And then he went on and loved it. So just remember, when you're afraid, is that the ego like telling you that you're afraid, or is it really that your excitement? You have excitement, and you just misidentified it.
I
Uh,
love that so much. And I reckon is that everybody, if they just take a wee moment right now to have a look, might have a dial somewhere inside them. Have a look. Where is it? Where's your fear excitement dial? And think about something that's making you go, ah, and see where it is on the dial. And if it's at fear, just tune the dial way down a bit to excitement. And if it's still too much, just tune it down a wee bit more until you feel, oh, okay. See if that works for you. Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, and but moving forward to the story, you've had a lot of brushes with death, and we're probably going to do a whole series on each one and build on the excitement of all the
Of all
traumas that
my
you have tracks.
dyings, six
But how
near-death experiences.
but how did you come to have your brush with a black widow spider? For those, in case someone doesn't know what a black widow is, I assume everyone does, but it's a particular spider. The females are poisonous. They have a red hourglass on the belly, and they can be pretty potent if you happen to
They're
run into
actually
one.
more venomous than a rattlesnake.
Yeah. So with that
Yeah.
being identified, tell us, how did you have this little brush with your
Okay, so public service announcement, darlings. If you are in California, Southern California, oh my God, I forgot where I am for a moment. That's how often I move. If you're in Southern California and you're in an outdoor hot tub, shake your robes out before putting them on. That's how she got me. So it was this time 2 years ago today, and I was staying in the Temple of Wholeness, the most magical place you could possibly imagine. And my life was going so well. And then I was given this gift by Grandmother Spider. So I knew immediately that I'd been bitten because it hurt like hell. And I also know what to do with bites. I'm a holistic practitioner, so I deal with body, mind, and spirit simultaneously. So I raced inside, and the first thing I did was I grabbed my bentonite clay. If you don't have any, then get yourself some. We'll do one on teaching them how to make like super healing clay. This bentonite draws 31 times its molecular weight in toxins. So I have used it to suck out all kinds of things. And I just packed it on in a poultice, 4 inches thick, 20% larger than the bite itself. And then I wrapped it in cellophane because the bite was on my left thigh. and got on the internet to find out just how screwed I was or not. So, and I looked up, do I need to go to the ER? I'm not a hospital person. I have not found traditional medicine to be particularly helpful for me. So I like to look and see, what am I in for if I go in there? Oh, dear God. If you get bitten by a black widow, unless you're actually dying, don't get the venom. You would be hot. I was like, what? It's horse. No, just don't do it. It's way more toxic. You have to be monitored by a doctor for like 20 days. It's that toxic. If the bite doesn't kill you, this will help take you out. Anyway, make your own decisions. I'm not your doctor, whatever. So I established that there really wasn't anything that could be done for me that I couldn't do myself. And so that left one thing. I could not change what had happened, but I could decide how I was going to feel about it. And it's this choice that matters, of course, because it's this choice that determines what happens next. So I'm a shaman, and I decided that this was clearly a shamanic initiation, and that anything this painful would have a whole lot of gifts, and I would not stop unpacking them until I had got every single last juice out of every bit of them. It took me 7 months. And but I'm getting ahead of myself. So black widows, when they inject their venom, it's designed to dissolve the organs of their victim. So first week was a bit rough, but I went straight onto Facebook and said, I need prayers because I've got a wonderful Facebook family, and I support them, and so whenever I'm in trouble, which is quite often, which is why I'm known as the shortcut shaman, because, well, I've been in all kinds of trouble and I know lots of shortcuts out. So they all gather around and send me prayers and healing thoughts and whatnot. Well, I logged on this next morning and they were freaking out. Oh my God. My friend died from a black widow bite. My friend lost his leg. I've had a friend who went blind. I'm still recovering 9 years later. I'm going, oh. And so I let the fear take hold of me, which is understandable, pretty scary situation. I've learned that fear is the gift that I give myself so that I can experience courage. Some days that's easier than others. And I knew that I was in trouble and that the fear had taken over, because I'd made myself a nice hot cup of tea. And all of a sudden, reading these messages, the bite and the clay under the cellophane was getting to be the same temperature as the hot tea in my hand. I thought, oh, that's not good. Unwrapped it. Sure enough, it was flaming out. It had grown 20% in the 5 minutes that I was letting the fear go. Because see, here's this is the thing. It's not the bite that kills you. It's the venom coursing through the veins to your heart that takes you out. And it's kind of like a human hurt, when somebody does something really awful to you. It's not that awful thing that takes you down. It's letting the pain of the betrayal or the awfulness just flood through your system to affect everything that you do from then on. I learned to fence the dragon. And that means being very selective about my thoughts, choosing how I'm going to feel. And fencing the dragon, what do you think, Hank? Should I give a little quick demo about what to do if you're bitten by anything venomous?
Well, I suppose you can, but one thing before that, what she was just mentioning, she was putting all her attention on how it was an initiation and was having one experience, started reading Facebook comments, started having a different experience. And it's a metaphysical principle called energy flows where your attention goes. So it's very important to have that disciplined mind and focus on the things that you want to bring into your life and actualize, and not on the things that you would feel as a trauma or a limitation.
Yes. God, I love how you just take it, encapsulate it. You're so good. And if you want to know about how to actually fence the dragon with a real venomous snake or spider or whatever, then put it in the comments and we'll answer it later if we've got time. But yeah, you nailed it. you nailed it. And it doesn't matter what kind of venom it is, if it's fear or actual venom. You have to, you can't afford to allow yourself the foolish indulgence of negative thoughts in a crisis situation. Really, that's just what it boils down to, because it can kill you. And so I decided that I was falling a bit too easily into fear, so I needed to erect stronger structures in my brain to keep me like bumper bars, keep me focused on, no, this is happening for me, not to me. And that is the big key that will shift anything in your life from oh to oh. And that's where you start, you know, and you go from oh to ah. So and think about it, maybe you've got something going on right now in your life that you really feel like is happening to you, and just stop and take a breath just for a wee little second and go, all right, well, what if this was happening for me, not to me? How would that change everything? Take a breath and just see if you can. Have you got anything, Hank? What about you there at home?
Well, I use this analogy all the time that we think that life is happening to us instead of through us. And when you're a victim, and I instill this upon my children almost daily and hoping that it sets in as they grow up. But the only common denominator in your life for all the experiences is you. And if you feel that anything is being, if you're a victim of anything, you're putting the power to change it outside of yourself. So when you realize that it's all your choices and what you're choosing and who you're being in that moment, consciously and unconsciously, that has created the reality around you, then everything happens as through you or for you with your terminology, and you have full power to start shifting it and changing it and starting to change the direction, have good orderly direction, my acronym for God, to start actualizing your hopes and dreams and what you're really looking for in life.
Nice, exactly. And like, let's face it, you can't choose all the time what happens to you, but we can choose how we're going to feel and how we're going to respond. And that's everything, really, isn't it? So I chose to know that this was a shamanic initiation. And so I stopped calling her the Black Widow because scary. And I started calling her Grandmother Spider, which is a good way for me to remember that she is somebody to respect, somebody who has given me a gift that I don't understand yet. And that's another thing. I'm skipping around a bit, but this is important. When reprogramming the brain, I specialize in reprogramming the brain for optimal levels of productivity and joy. And I actually have got my brain programmed with a baseline of joy, which the simplest way that I did that as a baseline is in any situation, doesn't matter what it is, I look for the most joyful thought. And when I find it, I latch onto it and I do not let it go. I do not allow any other thoughts. Most joyful thought. Oh, that's more joyful? I'll allow that one, but not those ones. No. So the most joyful thought in this situation was, this is initiation. And I couldn't figure out the gift yet. So my go-to joyful thought when I'm like, is this is a miracle I don't understand yet. And that works really well for me. So Grandmother Spider she became. And I said, oh, okay, please, will you be my mentor? Will you be my teacher? And she said nothing at all. And I took that for a yes and just behaved as if. I knew that this was happening for me. I knew that this is a miracle I don't understand yet. And I knew that I was going to get every bit of it out of it. So that means that she was going to be my teacher. So I set off to learn a little bit more, but not for the first week. The first week I just basically rolled around in agony. Trying out, because I got lots of pain pain tools, because I'm very skilled in that too, and used it to clear a lot of, if I'm going to get this heavy of a dose of anything, I'm going to use it to clear as much internal stuff as I possibly can, because might as well. And the next week was a lot of sleeping. I'm trying to find out how much, because there's some trippy parts of the story, and I'm not sure who's watching. I'm like, what's we'll skim ahead to. I left the Temple of Wholeness, and I came to LA to my friend Greta Grace, and we were doing an interview with the LA Times on the Red Tent, and the interviewer was going to be arriving in an hour, and I rolled up at Greta's house and started sneezing like a mad thing because she has a cat, and I'm hugely allergic to cats. I sneezed for nearly an hour. My eyes were streaming. My face was a mess. I'm like, I can't do this. This is ridiculous. I can't be interviewed in this state. So I'd had conversations with grandmother before, but now's the time to find out whether or not all the work I'd done in the last week or so was worth it. So I put one hand on the bite side, put the other hand on the allergens, and said, "Grandmother, please, can you help me clear these allergies?" And it's the coolest thing. I felt the energy of the Black Widow come up, confront the allergens, and go, "Black Widow, bitches, no room for you here." I'm going, whoa! And they all just went poof and disappeared. And instantly I stopped sneezing. My eyes dried up, my throat opened up, and I was completely clear of cat allergy. I spent the next 6 weeks kitty sitting my mate's cat, who had to be just here all the time, especially while we slept. I'd been in a house with 23 cats, not a sneeze, not a sniffle. So I thought, yeah, I'm going to make this my focus and my study for as long as it takes for me to master this.
So the question really becomes, with this story and everybody who's watching and everything, what would you recommend to people who are experiencing not necessarily like a poison, like a Black Widow, but poisons in their life, traumas in their life, betrayals, whatever the case is? How to start? Where do you start to shift from what's a perceived trauma into this place of triumph?
By understanding that's happening for you, not to you. By being absolutely determined that this is somehow a miracle that you don't understand yet, or maybe you do understand it. By moving relentlessly in that direction and deciding what you want the end result to be. And then aligning your thoughts and your words and your actions with that end result. When that happened, that made me realize the gifts in this is so much larger than anything that I could have imagined. And so I started thinking, how else can I use this venom? And at 24, I was hit by a drunk driver, as I said earlier. And every one of those blackouts that I had anytime I went into stress, everyone caused an oxidative stress wall in my forebrain that after a couple of years of intermittent oxygen deprivation, I no longer had reliable access to my forebrain. And doctors said I would be dead or brain dead by the time I was 30. So I thought, I wonder if I can use this venom to dissolve the oxidative stress walls. And so I now have access to brain functioning and memories that I haven't had for 35 years.
That's great. Just bringing up a comment, Annie's joining us. I think she's caught us when we've done interviews in the past, but says, "Joy, I just love to listen to you. Your wisdom sharing is so useful. Thank you. Amazing woman," and a nice little heart. And for anybody else who has comments or questions, feel free to express them. We love to interact with you.
Yeah, especially like that. You just made my whole day, darling. Thank you. I've got a lovely big warm fuzzy now. Literally.
Which reminds me, I'll post a link to it. Joy has a group called Praise, which is placing radical, I'm going to forget it now. You said
last month it was planting radical appreciation in someone's energy. So we were uplifting. It's a community. It's rapidly growing. Lifting ourselves by raising others, by sharing how they're changing the world and our lives, and just telling them how important they are. I mean, so many people literally dying for that. This is suiciding everywhere because we're so isolated, and reaching out to people to say, hey, you matter, and this is why. Oh my God, it's just been absolutely transformational. And this month we're doing Praise Phrase 2, which is purposefully raising attitude immediately shifts everything.
All right.
And
So it's always something different. I did just post a link. I'll put it up in the banner too. And
thank
for
you.
anybody that's listening to this on a podcast afterwards, because we do upload all these to like iTunes, iHeartRadio, and all that. So if you like to listen instead of watch, you can always download it on the replay. But it's facebook.com/groups/2 p.r.a.i.s.e.u. That's a
Praise
mouthful.
you. Yes, yes.
Perfect. Thank you so
And
much for sharing that.
every day this week, this one's only running for 7 days, and this was day 2. We're giving a tool to be able to empower you to raise your shift your attitude anytime you want, because important. It's very important.
Now, one thing, and a lot of people can relate, either they themselves might be in the space or we have a friend who's in that space, that no matter what tools you give and what insights you have or what wisdom you offer, they're in a place of real polarity or real duality, and they can't see that it's happening for them. Any advice on to crack that armor or start to
Take it
shift?
till you make it.
Fake it. Yeah, that's a good one.
The brain doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. If you don't believe me, imagine a big juicy lemon right there in your hand. Cut it in half. Look how smashing that was. Take that big juicy half a lemon. Go on, do it. Put it in your mouth. Bite down. Did you salivate? Was there a lemon? The brain doesn't know the difference, so you can trick it. You can, I did not know. Look, if I told you that I thought that this bite was happening for me and that this was going to be a massive gift immediately after it happened, I would have laughed and said, it doesn't feel like it does not. But when you decide to make that internal shift, no, I'm in charge here. I will not be a victim. If the venom in your life is a poisonous person, or something that you see that's happening out. Oh gosh, excuse me,
Yep.
nearly ripped my ear off there. Or something that you believe is happening outside of you. I'll share this bit of wisdom. I asked Grandmother Spider, so what's the deal? How does Black Widow dance with White Peacock? Because one of my prophesized titles is White Peacock Woman. And Grandmother reminded me that peacocks are revered in so many religions because of their ability to eat venomous spiders and snakes and poisonous plants and alchemize that venom into the glory of their feathers. I provide the venom. And that's the moment I knew that that the venom was a gift. And venomous people are a gift, especially because, well, in order to experience anything at all, the exact opposite has to appear. How can we experience up without down, left without right, dark without light? And so we can just see what's the most helpful thing.
Sure.
Okay, I've got a helpful thing. I experienced a very venomous situation this year, actually, where a deep sister who I have stood back to back and fought side to side with, and a beloved for 10 years, and a total badass, like knock it out of the park, powerful, turned on me and started saying, just doing all of these awful things, slandering me and psychically attacking me and all of these, like, and it hurt my heart so badly that I realized, wow, I got bronchitis, which is inflamed family environments, and coughing is what can't you say, and all this sort of, this isn't any good. I've got to stop seeing myself as a victim and turn this around. So what is really happening here? What thoughts did I think? What words did I say to bring this attack? And then I realized, So I, under the great conjunction, that mighty star, experienced a massive shift into a new energy. And my life is about continually evolving into the next grandest version of myself. And this was such a leap that I no longer knew who I was, which is always exciting. And so I needed to know who I am. And so my beloved sister gave me an opportunity to experience who I am under deep duress and betrayal and all of the things. Because it's easy to experience, you think yourself as, oh, everything's lovely. But when the rubber hits the road is how do you do this under stress and duress? And she was the most perfect person because she knew me so well. She was able to push every single button so that I could realize, okay, I don't have any more abandonment betrayal triggers. I've got those. Oh yes, thank you so much, dear one. She helped me to grow my personal power and my strength and my ownership and see more clearly the mirror that she is and what I never wanted to do and what is mine to do and all of these things that I would never otherwise have had the opportunity. I got to discover who I am now because of her, and that. And I am, because of that experience and because of that situation, a much stronger, clearer person. And I'm really pleased with how I handled it. I was able to find deep compassion, but I would never have been able to experience any of that unless somebody provided the venom, and the most perfectly qualified person to do that did. So for you, if you're experiencing a person maybe perfectly qualified to push your buttons, perhaps the opportunity is for you to experience who you are differently in this situation. And I teach all kinds of techniques for that because I've had all kinds of buttons pushed. And I like to have options when I'm dealing with this.
And I actually, not too long ago, I had a similar situation where I was the venom inadvertently. And right after it happened, I realized I was a venom and looked to change that. But it still created this huge of all this hoochah that we would call it in shamanism, like came to the surface. There were things in our friendship that were under the surface that probably were percolating that now, because of this one thing, all came to the surface. And I'm looking at it as, wow, I'm so grateful that I did that, because now there's all this stuff to look at that once we move through it, we're going to have a much grander creationship, not relationship, but it really look at everything with a gratitude, because even when you get venomed or you're the venomer, it's all an opportunity to not look at those things as a failure, but looking at those things as just a new awareness to now choose differently, to be the most congruent person that you can be towards your self-actualization.
Yes. Yeah, as usual, you synopsize everything so beautifully. Thank you, Hank. Gosh.
You're welcome.
Damn,
Now,
he's good.
last call for questions, because we were planning to go just about 30 minutes. And Joy is my accountability buddy from Beyond TV Bootcamp. So we're streaming there too. If you guys are seeing us, sorry we don't see your comments because of the way we're streaming. But here we are doing a little bit of a longer interview. So hopefully you're all enjoying that as well. But if you have any questions or comments, now is the time. We just have a couple minutes left before we'll end the stream and talk shop a little bit about what we can create.
Yeah, yeah, I'm happy to spend this last few minutes just answering anything that. It was so interesting when this happened. I was posting posts on Facebook, updating everybody, and I even created a Facebook page for it because I didn't know what I was going to do. All I know is that a part of my commitment is living authentically and vulnerably. And hey, this is me. Just don't try and put me on a pedestal. I am always falling off it. I've got clay feet. Don't even. And I think that the most important thing as a teacher is to teach by example. So I was using this to teach how to stay out of fear in poisonous, frightening situations. No comments, crickets with the entire thing. Everybody was so freaked out that I'd been bitten by a black widow. Months later, they're still urging me to go to the the emergency room, and so I'm hoping that this doesn't happen this time. It's 2 years. I'm fine. Things worked out incredibly well. Please take the tools. Don't be freaked out by the messenger, because we're so often freaked out by, she's the Black Widow is she's magic. She is. Don't hate her.
Right. But what's important is if you do get bit by a black widow, you got to keep the mindset that Joy's keeping. And if not, the hospital is a very good option. Use your knowing, and we're not doctors or anything. So.
Yeah, if you want to go to a hospital, absolutely. Just be very wary if you're thinking about getting the antidote. Just do your own research. Do your own research. None of my business what you do. But that bentonite clay, by jingos, I've used that to pull out everything from splinters to all kinds of venomous bites. I'm using it at the moment for precancerous lesions on my face. I've seen it on YouTube pull out a cancerous tumor over time through poultices. It's absolutely astonishing stuff. Mother Nature, no, has so much for us to heal.
Awesome. And you can find out about Joy on her website. It's experiencejoy.com.
Yes.
And also check out the Facebook group that we put in the comments. And I believe on her site, do you still have like the free exercise if they want
Yes,
to get it?
yes. If you go to experiencejoy.com, I will give you a 15-minute video that shows you how to relax instantly, keep a clear head no matter what's going on. You can bet I use that throughout this entire thing. And how to clear stress from your body. I used all three all the time. These are my foundation go-tos. I mean, I've got a whole tool shed full of empowerment tools because it's my passion to collect them. But these three, nobody can manage without, which is why I say measure your stress levels on a scale of 1 to 100 before you do this wee video, and then do it again at the end of the video. And when you find out how well they work, oh my God, she wasn't kidding, share it. Everybody needs to know this stuff.
Yeah. And with any tool, practice it when you don't need it.
Yes.
Practice
Yes.
it when you don't need it. You anchor it. I did learn that from the bank. I did meditation rigorously. I set an anchor. And when I got knocked off center, my anchor was 3 deep breaths and I was right back to meditation. But if you practice all that stuff when you don't need it, when you do need it, it is so second
Yeah.
nature, you hardly even have to think about anything.
Yes.
So this is great. Joy, thank you so much for coming on and sharing the story and kind of going a little bit of esoteric metaphysical as well with me.
I'm a shaman.
Yeah.
It's unavoidable. And I
Nike,
appreciate you so much, Hank. Thank you very much.
you're very welcome. A Nike, Wilika Nuna Penny Chai, which means thank you, sacred soul sister in Quechua.
Oh, I love that so much.
All
Like
right.
how you know it is. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Thank
All
you.
right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.